Hi guys, Jess here, and I have made my first 12 by 12 layout using my kit. So this is using my challenge item, the Distress Ink. So this is the Holtz Distress Ink called Tumbled Glass, and it's a really nice blue colour, and I'm going to use 3 different techniques. The first technique is called the Smooshing technique, and I'm going to be smooshing the ink down the bottom of the page to show where the bath would be. So basically all I've done is pushed the ink onto a piece of plastic. I'm just using a plastic pocket, but you could use some acetate, you could use a plastic bag, anything at all like that. I sprayed some water onto my piece of white paper using just a normal spray bottle, and I also sprayed some water onto the actual bit of plastic. What that does is make the ink go a little bit more watery, sort of like a watercolour. So I'm just, as you can see, smooshing that down into the paper. Now I should also mention I did not prep my paper. I didn't use any primer or any gesso or anything like that because I don't own that product. So I'm just going straight onto the paper with nothing else there. So just smooshing away, smush, 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 smush. When I think I've done enough, I leave that to dry. And when you look at it dry, which is now, you can see it's actually a little bit lighter than it was before. So I'm going in with a second coat, still just smooshing, and I'm just going to try and darken up a few spots to show, the different colours there that you can, colour effects that you can get. Do be careful when you're smooshing because you can sort of see where I've pressed with just my fingers. There I was with my spray bottle as well, just adding a little bit more water to try and get that colour effect so it doesn't just look too dark inky. I do want the nice kind of watercolour look. So I let this dry using heat, so you can use a hairdryer or your air ducts, but look what happens there. See how warped the page goes? So what I often do as well is I then iron the back of the page, and you can see that that helps to flatten that out. So now I've got a second piece of paper, and this is my second technique, and this is the watercolour technique. So I'm still using that same piece of plastic pocket, and I'm pushing the ink on, and you can see that I sprayed water onto the plastic pocket, but I've also got a little paintbrush there, and I am just making circles that are going to be bubbles. So just darkening on one side, lighten on the other, going all the way, filling the whole page up. So you can see just smooshing into the plastic pocket, spraying on a little bit of water. I don't spray any water onto the page with this one, I just spray the water into the ink. And just keep smooshing, keep smooshing. I don't use a huge amount of ink out of that glass of water. I wasn't sure how much ink I would want, but just by using the spray bottle I find that I'm getting enough. And I don't need to use the spray bottle every time I add more ink because the water does also stay on the plastic pocket. So as you can see there, I've just done as many circles approximately as will sort of fill the page because I wasn't 100% sure how many bubbles I wanted, and I did a whole bunch of different sizes. I left that to dry as well, and when it warped a little bit I just ran the iron over the back. Do just put it over the back, you'd hate to ruin the colour by putting it over the front after all your hard work. So you can see there I've got the diamond press and I've got the circle dies, and I'm just going to cut all those circles out using the diamond press in all the various different shapes of the circle dies. So I've gone ahead and done that, and I decided when I put them together on there like that you couldn't really see the bubbles very well, so I'm using my third technique here, which was to ink the edges. So I go around each of the different circles inking up the edges because it just makes the edges that little bit darker and makes them stand out better on the page, because of course it is all the same colour ink as I only have one. Now it looks like I've done all that. I haven't. I've just laid them out. They're not stuck on yet. I was just having a bit of a play, and now I'm looking at how I want to back my photo. So I decide on the nice shiny blue and just a plain grey. So I'm definitely going to use those two colours, but I also want to work out which one I want on top. Do I want the shiny blue on top or do I want the grey on top? So I just have a little bit of a fiddle here as to which colour I think looks the nicest on top and would stand out the best on the background. And I do end up going that way with the shiny blue and then the grey on the bottom. So I like to back my photos all the time. I never leave my photos unbacked, and I will often back with more than one colour. Pretty much always will back with more than one colour. This I've only backed with 2, but sometimes I'll back with 3, 4 or 5. I just love the look that it gives, and this time as well I've also backed straight, but sometimes I'll back a little bit off skew because I think that looks quite nice. Also have a confession to make. I found this really hard to do. I am not very good at cutting whole pieces of pattern paper. I just think pattern paper is so beautiful. I don't want to cut it up, but I have, because of this challenge. I don't have that many pieces of pattern paper, and I've got to make the most of what I've got. So, photo is ready. I turned all of the bubbles over, and I divided them into sizes, and I backed half of them with just normal double-sided tape and half of them with foam dots so that they stick out a little bit. And I'm putting all of the just sitting flat ones, just the double-sided tape, I'm putting them all on and around first, just any which way really, anywhere I feel like, no real rhyme or reason, just pop them around the page. Start to get a little bit stuck in a minute and go to the popped out ones because I think they'll be easier to place. So just pop those all on, here, there and everywhere. The good thing about the foam dots is if you're quick enough you can move them again, as you can see me do there. Trying to vary the sizing so that I don't have, all the little ones together or all the big ones together. I don't really have any particular way of doing this. I'm just popping them wherever I feel like. I do want them sort of coming from the bottom up to show that they're coming out of the bath, but that's about it really. So just trim off the edges. Oh, sorry, I don't know why that's happened. Trim off the edges there so that there's no overlap. Beautiful. And then so they're all stuck on. So there's a little bit of a closer up look of the bubbles and how they worked. There is a better close up later on, so stay tuned. So now I'm up to embellishing. No, I'm not. I got the embellishments out that I want to use, but now I'm just making a title. So really simple title. I had a lot of trouble trying to think of something good to write as a title, so I gave up on a good one and just used an obvious one, and I'm writing the title Bath Time. So again, just using my diamond press and my alphabet die. I could not highly enough recommend buying an alphabet die. I have used it so many times just to make the perfect title that I actually want. I love it, love it, love it. I know it is a bit of a pain because I've got a diamond press that I have to do each letter one at a time. I could probably put 2 in, but I do mostly do them each letter one at a time. Probably also why I don't do really long titles, but I don't find it that hard doing each letter one at a time. I'm just so excited to have the title that I actually want it to be, that it's totally worth it for me. So, I pushed out the letters Bath Time and noticed I decided to use the grey, which is the same grey that I backed the photo with, and it wasn't really standing out as dark as I'd like it to be, so I'm just distressing the edges of each of the letters as well. Of course, that's a little bit trickier because they're odd shapes, but I think it was definitely worth it. And as I was doing it, I kind of smudged a little bit onto the letter, which I liked because it just added some more blue in with the grey there to help tie the colours together. So I go ahead and do all of the title Bath Time, and I decide to move it down the bottom. So I'm just gluing that on with a normal craft PVA. Just be careful when you use things like the craft PVA because too much of it can warp the paper again because it's wet, and it can also sort of smoosh out the sides, and you don't want that to then stick to other things and that you don't actually want stuck there. You've got to be really certain when you're using the craft PVAs because there's no going back, not like the double-sided tape you can sometimes peel off, or the foam dots that you can sometimes peel off as well. The craft PVA, once it's down, it's down. Now, I'm sure you know that, but just an added warning. So, gluing all those on, I notice at some stage, I've no idea how it happens or when, so I'm going to keep a lookout while I'm doing the voiceover, that my eye just vanishes in time. Don't know where it goes, just disappears. So, I went through all the stuff that my sister gave me in my kit and pulled out the colours that I think would match my layout and just go about putting them on wherever I'd like them to be. That sort of doily shaped blue one that's up in the top right hand corner I'm going to use to journal on. Now you don't see me do my journaling, but I do journaling. It just talks about how Dad always does the bath with the little boy every night, and that it's a really lovely time for the two of them, and that he seems to enjoy the bath. So, gluing everything on. I don't know why I chose to use glue instead of double-sided tape. Really no reason. I think because the glue is there and it's a little bit easier. But again, do be careful because it can warp the page if it's too wet. I really liked the idea of using circle things to fill up some of the bubbles. I was a bit worried that the black one was a bit too dark, but I think it looks pretty good. That homemade embellishment from in my kit says my family, and even though there's only one person in this photo, it is about my family, and as I only have one child, he is my family, so I just wanted to use that embellishment there. I tried really hard to think of ways to use these love hearts because, you know, I do love the boy and it's got the nice blue glitter. I can work it out. They get the axe. They were too hard to place, so I don't end up using those. I end up using 2 love heart paper clips instead. One on each side. That one's a silver one and the other one is a white one. Yeah, that fell off somehow. Don't know how. Couldn't remember where it was, so I just put it somewhere else. Love wood veneer. Now for those of you that are just tuning in, Katie and I have set each other a challenge to try and kill a kit. We've made a kit for each other using our own stashes and a $10 budget, and the aim of the game is to try and use all of the items in your kit and only the items in your kit. So the only things I've used for this layout that were not from my kit is the white 12x12 cardstock. Everything, and the glue of course, everything else came supplied in the kit from my sister. We have 2 challenge items in the kit to try and either push us out of our comfort zone, or it's an item that we've had in our stashes but we've just never known how to use. And my challenge item was the Distress Ink. So I think I've smashed that challenge item, to be honest. I've used it 3 different ways. I think it looks awesome and I will definitely be going back to the ink again. So I've finished the layout. Here's for some close-ups. I haven't over-embellished this one, I don't think. I think there could be room for a few more things, but I'm not doing them. I'm leaving them as is. Often people have said they find it challenging to use their homemade embellishments on a layout, so I've used 2 on this one just to give you a bit of an idea of how you might do that. And yeah, I was really, really happy with how the layout turned out and can't wait to pop that into the boys' album and get on with the next one, so stay tuned. Hope you've enjoyed this 12x12 and that it's helped inspire you in some way, and I really encourage you to give Distress Ink a go as well. Tag us down below. Thank you.